Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
Do you guys remember just how hyped Pierre-Luc Dubois was? Coming into the 2016 NHL draft process, Dubois was a big, skilled, extremely talented power forward and somebody that had so much potential. He would end up being drafted 3rd overall behind Laine and Matthews in the 2016 NHL draft and would look to be a foundational piece of Columbus's future. And it made sense. He got 99 points, 42 goals, and 62 QMJHL games in his draft year and was also a point per game too in the playoffs, getting 7 goals in 12 games. Draft year Dubois was a pretty big monster, and if it wasn't for Matthews and Laine having unbelievable draft year seasons, Dubois could have been a 1st overall pick. But now, before his 26th birthday, Dubois has been traded 3 different times, and now on his way to Washington has been traded as a complete cap dump. So what has happened to Pierre-Luc Dubois? Why is he finding himself on another team already? And what does this say about his future, about his career, and what happens next? Well, make sure you watch till the end as we go through the diverse and interesting downfall of Pierre-Luc Dubois' career to see what's next and what could happen in the future. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey breakdowns just like this all throughout the year. Now, it's no secret we've talked about Pierre-Luc Dubois a lot on this channel over the past year, but that's because he's given us so much to talk about. He's somebody that was wanting to dictate his future after already being traded from Columbus to Winnipeg, wanted to go somewhere else. And he got his wish. He went exactly where he wanted, going to Los Angeles and playing for the LA Kings and signing a massive contract extension immediately. And that was after 4 seasons in Columbus, where in his 4th year, he basically got detached from the entire organization by John Tortorella, having no effort when it mattered most, and would get traded to the Winnipeg Jets, where he'd only stay 3 seasons there and was basically riddled with trade rumors almost the entire time. Really, after his 1st year, there was already beginning to be more news about him potentially wanting out. And again, he got exactly what he wanted. After basically giving up on 2 different teams in Winnipeg and Columbus, he now goes to LA, contract extension in place, and this was looked at as finally some stability in Dubois' career. Finally, he would be with the team that would give him the best situation for him, and we'd finally have to stop talking about trading him. But as you know by now, that was not the case, and his disastrous 1st season at LA was just highlighted by disappointment as well in the playoffs, getting 1 goal in 5 games. It was a disappointing start, it was a disappointing end, and even though there were times in the last couple of months where he was starting to put it together a little bit, he just was never a fit in LA. And although I don't think it's entirely his fault, he just wasn't playing good. He wasn't playing good, and after so much discussion and trade rumors and wanting to go where he wanted, wanting to get a contract extension, wanting to go to the place where he wanted to go, to put up the performances that he did on the team that gave him so much confidence was just incredibly disgusting. Not only did LA have faith to trade you for a ton of assets in Velarde, Iafallo, and more, they gave you an $8.5 million contract extension to be not just a big part of the team now, but to be the face of the future. Especially once Anze Kopitar was gone, he was looked at to be the 1st-line center of the future and eventually overtake him. And now we know, looking back, that was absolutely foolish, especially as a person, especially in terms of motivation and determination. Kopitar is on a different planet than Dubois, and to think that he could be replaced, especially by Dubois, I mean, the Kings have already learned that lesson. That wasn't going to happen. But throughout the season, there was benchings, there was demotions, there was promotions to try to get him going that wouldn't work. They would try basically everything possible to get Dubois going, and nothing was working. It got so bad that after the playoffs and exit meetings, Rob Blake basically had to come out and say, no, we're not buying out Pierre-Luc Dubois. You know, the guy that we traded so much for a year ago, signed to an $8.5 million extension. He had to field questions about buying him out. That's how bad this got. At least in exit meetings, though, there was a little bit of confidence they could get him back to that level, saying we got to do a better job with the coaches to incorporate him into the game, showing that they still wanted to try more to get Dubois going. But it did feel like after those exit meetings that the Kings were going to try to wait it out, hopefully have a rebound season out of Dubois, and maybe talk about trading him after that, because it really didn't feel like the Kings were going to get the value that they wanted, especially if they were to trade Dubois after that horrid season. But apparently there was a little bit of bluffing there from Rob Blake, and according to Russell Morgan, Blake said the conversations around the Dubois trade started around the NHL draft combine. So up until a few weeks ago, maybe there wasn't that much talk of a trade, but up until the combine and right afterwards, the Kings were apparently trying to make a Dubois deal happen. But if they were trying to make a deal happen, this was the best time to do it. As Cap Friendly mentions, it's worth noting that Dubois had a full no-move clause that was set to kick in on July 1st, which would have allowed him to block this trade. It still would have been possible to trade him after July 1st. He would have had to say yes to it, but at the same time, it would have made things extraordinarily difficult. So the Kings basically found the loophole that they needed to get rid of Dubois while they could. And the fact that the third team that traded for Dubois, the LA Kings, the team that gave him this massive extension, $8.5 million, so much confidence to change the franchise and to be the future face, traded him before they could actually have the no-move clause kick in that they themselves signed. The layers to this, man, it's incredible. But if that doesn't speak to the NHL's stance on Dubois, I don't know what does. The fact that the Kings were so incredibly quick to try to get rid of Dubois before they even had the chance to interfere with a no-move clause, they basically swept him under the rug as soon as they could and traded him to somewhere else to get rid of him as quick as possible. That's pretty brutal. And now just a couple weeks after the NHL draft combine, the LA Kings pulled the trigger before July 1st and before the draft to trade Dubois to the Washington Capitals, his fourth team before he turns 26. And then you get the official trade details as it's a 1-for-1. Dubois to Washington and Darcy Kuemper to LA. And it shows just how bad and how negative of a value Dubois has. The best that LA could get is Darcy Kuemper, an aging goaltender who has a high cap hit, who was horrible last season, has some injury troubles, but that's the best they could get. And honestly, without salary retention, the fact that the LA Kings could have won this deal potentially is insane. Bringing on a goaltender like Darcy Kuemper, who has a lot of question marks, and the fact that even with those question marks, Washington could still be the losers in this deal, that's insane here. But it just speaks to the inconsistencies and the big question marks with Dubois as well. The fact that he's on his fourth team already, the fact that he's had all these systems in places where it hasn't worked out, either with how he's enjoyed his time there or how the actual team has played around him and how he's played with the team. It just feels like wherever he's gone, things don't last long. And in Washington, I don't really know how you could say otherwise. It feels like once he has a year or two there, he's gonna pack up ship and go to Buffalo or something. At this rate, Dubois, you might as well try out every NHL franchise, because wherever you go, you're either not good or you're not happy. Honestly though, Washington might be the best place for him to go to, not in terms of what he actually needs the most, but in terms of the players around him. I mean, guys like Ovechkin, Milano, Max Pacioretty, I mean, it's basically all just a bunch of Dubois on the team. Might as well add another. I'm obviously being a little bit hyperbolic, but still the fit in Washington is pretty funny, you gotta admit. I still think they should trade for Trevor Zegras and have a Zegras, Dubois, and Milano line. That to me would be magical in how frustrating they would be. Honestly though, I think I do like this trade for LA quite a bit. It's not overwhelming. I don't think it's a win by any means considering the history, but in just this trade, I think the Kings get better off. Hopefully Kuemper in a new situation can be a little bit better. It seems like him and Washington, just in the Eastern Conference, it just really wasn't a fit for him. Going back to the Pacific Division where he's had some of his best results over the years. He's somebody that has already, of course, been playing in LA before too, and that could be something to watch as well. I don't think he's going to be this franchise face for them, but I do think he can be a little bit of a stopgap before maybe Eric Portillo in the wings is ready to be a starter. The cap hit that Kuemper does have at 5.25 is a little bit terrifying, especially when you consider the age that he does have. He's somebody that with his contract, he has 2 more years after this next season, so there is still quite a bit of term on there. And considering the fact that he just turned 34, he'll be somebody that by the time that last year is over, he'll be 37, and that's a pretty big contract to bring on. But at the same time, you get that contract off the books in Dubois, you bring in Kuemper, you save some money, and hopefully you can kind of save that goaltending situation a little bit. I don't think, again, it's going to be a revolutionary change for LA, but I do think when you just put this move in isolation, it was a good one for them. I've had my issues with LA's goaltending over the past couple of years. Cam Talbot came into last season, was brilliant in the first half, but kind of teetered off in the second, and towards the playoffs wasn't what LA needed. But I do think Kuemper has the best chance to be the best goalie LA's had these last couple of seasons. And even though he is on the other side, even though he's got that cap hit that could be a detriment, at the same time, you get rid of that Dubois contract, and that is what's most important here. I also feel like LA's defense can be pretty good structurally for Kuemper. I don't think it's going to blow his socks off or anything, but I think it will be an upgrade over Washington. Just the defensive responsibility throughout the lineup, not just on the defense, but on the forward group, I think will aid to Kuemper's success next season. I don't think he's going to light it up, but I can absolutely see a situation where he's around a 9-10 save percentage, which honestly in today's NHL is pretty great. And of course, no salary retention on Dubois is pretty amazing. And even though I don't think the Kuemper contract is incredible by any means, I'd rather take the Kuemper contract right now, I'll tell you that. But it's embarrassing, and it should be embarrassing for Dubois, considering the talent, considering the potential that we know he does have. I mean, he was somebody that in Winnipeg was close to a point per game, was somebody that during stretches was an unbelievable player, but he doesn't play like he should. He doesn't bring in the intensity he should. He doesn't bring the play driving that he absolutely can. With the frame, with the skill, with the speed, there is no situation where Dubois shouldn't be a first line center, but he just gets in his way constantly. There isn't the ethic there isn't the consistency. He doesn't put in what he truly needs to put in. And this is the fourth team now that we're talking about this. I mean, we thought that LA would be the end of these issues, that in the perfect situation for him on the city he wanted to go to, that he'd stop not giving a crap. But he didn't. It got even worse somehow. And the fact that we're now talking about him on his fourth team before he turns 26, it's embarrassing, and it should be. At this point, though, it's hard to not give up completely on Dubois. I mean, the Blue Jackets have, the Jets have, the Kings have, and, well, Washington, count your days. I'd like to say to you guys that I think Dubois could turn the corner, could become a first line, heck, even a top 6 centerman, I think Washington would take right now out of Dubois. Even that bar, which should be easily crossed by Dubois, is not getting met recently. And I would love to say that he'll be able to rebound and he'll be able to turn the corner, but we have no idea. We thought that would be the case with LA, and it got even worse. It was the worst season he might have ever had as an NHLer. I just hope for Washington's sake and for Caps fans watching right now that it's better for y'all, because it certainly wasn't for LA. It's just sad, man, because even a year and a half ago, we were talking about Dubois potentially getting a huge haul in a trade for Winnipeg, about teams like Montreal potentially being in on him and just offloading a boatload to be able to acquire him. Well, thank goodness the Montreal Canadiens didn't, because that would have been a disaster. I do still hope that Dubois can become what he needs to, but I'm not going to hold out hope that he does. I wish that he will, because it would be fantastic for Washington. I think his talent level is incredible. I want to see all these guys live up to their talent abilities, but in Dubois' case, it just doesn't feel like it's ever going to happen, or at least on the level that it should. He might still be a second line guy for Washington. Maybe he'll put up a couple of 60-point seasons here and there, but I still think he has the potential to be a point per game guy, bring intense physicality, be a dog on the puck. He has all the physical traits to be able to do so, but he just isn't, and maybe that's just who he is. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below on this Dubois trade. Which team do you think wins this deal? Do you think Washington can still get something out of him? Or do you think LA was the best team in this deal, getting out of that contract as soon as they could? And let me know as well your thoughts on Dubois. Do you think he'll be able to rebound it in Washington, or are you completely giving up on him? I would love to know all your thoughts down below. And of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more breakdowns just like this. Share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online, and click on this card for all the trade content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great hockey day, y'all, and goodbye.